Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad and honored to be with you again. And I'm just grateful that you show up. Show up for you, show up for each other. And I'm hopeful that what I have to offer you today is in some way helpful to you. Many of you know me. I think some of you have been with me before, but I teach restorative practices. I teach mindfulness and movement for the district, actually. I teach in the afternoons, urban Zen, mindfulness and movement. And that's open to everyone. I'm a mindfulness instructor. I'm a trauma responsive instructor and trainer for the Columbus Public Health. I work in the community around trauma and training and relationship building and resilience. So I'm just pulling all these things together and making something hopefully specific to your needs. And so each time I'm working with a different topic, I'm working with, where each time I'm showing up with hopefully pieces that I might have showed before and tying them in with a new concept. So today, I'm going to begin to share my screen here in a moment. I'm hoping that I can offer you a little reminder. Maybe it's new for you, maybe it's a reminder of the neuroscience behind how we become reactive or how we operate in the world as life continues to happen. And I don't know about you, but there are times when things are happening in this world that are super dysregulating, difficult. So part of my practice is a mindfulness practice. Part of my practice is taking care of my body. Part of my practice is learning this kind of thing with you. And so I'm going to share my screen. And move a couple things around. So welcome to our session today. And we will explore anger. We will explore empathy for connection. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat, anything you need me to slow down on or pause, and Rika will support me to notice what those are. All right, so in the chat, I'd love for you to share one thing you're looking forward to this summer. We've got your names in there, but I'd just love to see, and maybe Rika, you could unmute and just share a few that you're seeing.
Nothing. Oh, a break from students. Oh, spending time with grandchildren. That's huge. Awesome. Not having this awful virus. Oh my God, yes. Not having this awful virus anymore. And our grandson's graduation. Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. I got to admit. I know for me, I'm kind of looking forward to it maybe slowing down a little bit, not having some of the hard deadlines and just kind of getting myself a little break. We have working and relaxing in my yard. Oh, Jasmine says rest. Looking forward to rest.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for reading those. I may have to go get a cough drop, so I'll pause if I do. And apologize for that. All right. Thanks for sharing all that, everyone. So today, our learning objectives is hopefully to support you through communication skill building. A couple mindfulness tools, maybe just a breathing exercise that could be used throughout your day. We'll focus on the overarching relationship building, why that's important, and understanding and responding to anger, empathy practice, and the neuroscience of our response to life. So I'd like to begin with a mindfulness, just a moment of mindfulness, bring ourselves more fully here. I know you've each had a full day, and maybe your day has gone the way you'd like it, or maybe something's gotten in the way. So find a comfortable seat. Hopefully you're already in that place, But if you're not, and if you're doing something else, just find a comfortable standing or seated posture, and we'll just actually bring our attention. Sometimes it's really important to move just a moment, just to feel our whole body and how we're actually feeling. So maybe rolling the shoulders up, back, and down. And this is all an invitation. Do what feels good to you. And then maybe an inhale up overhead and stretching side to side, or some kind of stretching movement that feels good to you. Feel your feet on the floor. Allow the arms to drop to your side. Maybe rest on your legs. And feel your seat in the chair, or if you're standing, just feel the strength of your legs. Maybe your eyes are just soft. They do not have to be closed. And bring your attention to your back. Notice if it's leaning against something or not. Notice your shoulders and arms. Feel how they're supported. Maybe turning the neck from side to side and the head. And just notice what your eyes land on. A couple times each direction. And then notice any tightness or maybe relaxation in the neck. And softening the gaze again. For the next couple breaths, I'm going to really take a moment and practice a technique called straw breath. And just a natural inhale in through the nose, if that's accessible for you. And then as you exhale, breathe out as if you were breathing out through a straw. So 3 more breaths, natural inhale. And breathing out as if you were breathing out through a straw. Getting curious about this. This is a really supportive way of opening that prefrontal cortex and bringing open to new ideas, calming our nervous system. This is a great technique if you or someone else is feeling dysregulated. It's very difficult to take a deep breath. It's much more accessible to breathe in normally, naturally, and then exhale as if you're blowing through a straw. And doing this with someone is also really supportive, rather than telling them to breathe. One more time, just for good measure. Beautiful. And just notice if there's any change. Notice if you're resisting this kind of practice, that's okay too. Just bring your attention there, bring your awareness there, and notice if there's any shift in how you've arrived, anything at all. And feel free to share that with me in the chat. And this is a quote I like to start with when we talk about healthy relationships, from Brene Brown, who talks about defining connection, and connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, feel heard, and valued. So when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. So we have many, many relationships in our lives, and so many of them depend on just this connection, to be strong and healthy and to withstand rupture and repair. And so this is a review of just some of what we see, what we hear, and what they sound like, feel like, and look like. Healthy relationships often take time and energy and commitment. So coming to this session is such a great support to yourself and all the people around you. We were talking before we started about power and how we often can kind of discount our own power and how important it is to recognize we each sit in power. We each sit in a place where we have the power to be that person, be that one person that could be present to someone, could make a difference in their life, could plant a seed of that they are value and worthwhile. So they often also in healthy relationships include a lot of relationships in our lives, the colleagues that we work with, our students that we support, parents in the community, maybe other community activities that you do. They are improved with trust. They are supported by honesty and vulnerability. So growing those skills together is supportive to both our personal relationships and our relationships outside of the home. They grow with our curiosity. So that's why I was asking you to put your curiosity on, so that you might be a little more open to something that feels a little odd or new or different. It's so important. This part of our brain, which is the thinking part of our brain, is not really available if we're pretty firm in our knowing of what to expect or what we think we know. If we get curious, this part of our brain, the cortex, the prefrontal cortex, becomes more available. It becomes more pliable, more interested, and it's like we're leaning in. And they thrive when we care for ourselves with clear boundaries. So that means taking care of yourself, bringing mindfulness into your life, bringing self-care into your life, and care for each other by knowing when to say no and maybe when to say yes. Because in my experience, if I am not able to say no, then my yes doesn't mean very much. I'll say that again. If I don't feel empowered and have agency to say no, then my yes can't mean very much. So just offer you that. All right, so we're going to review the hand brains. A couple of you probably saw this at least one time before. And this is a Dan Siegel. He wrote the book Mindsight. Polyvagal Theory is by Stephen Porges. And my teacher, the Finding Hope Consulting, Mary Vicario, and the Center for Family Safety and Healing right here in Columbus Nationwide Children's Hospital. So we're going to move through. I'll pause just for a moment to make sure I haven't lost anybody. Any questions in the chat at all? Rika, anything at all?
I haven't seen any questions, but I do have that someone was more relaxed after the breathing exercise.
Thank you. All right, so you can do this with me if you feel like you want to engage a little bit. It would be helpful probably to yourself and to my system as well, just to know that you guys are with me. And we'll start with the hand model of the brain. So hopefully you can see my thumb is moved forward here. And we'll begin with the model of the brain, just naming some of how the hand represents the brain. And we'll begin down here where you see that blue circle, the spinal cord. This represents the spinal cord and the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve wraps around all of the organs in our body. It sends feelings and sensations to the brain, and it controls our social engagement system. Sorry, I'm moving you guys around. So it's really, really important. And we can tone the vagus nerve by doing certain practices. And there's lots of research on the vagus nerve and how important it is. And moving along. The lower brain and the brainstem here at the palm of the hand. This controls our breathing, the heart rate, blood pressure, bladder and bowel control. It lets information into the brain, so it's sensory based, comes from the body, communicates through the body sensations. And I don't know about you, but when I felt angry or upset, boy, I feel it here first. If I can get clear about that, I could stop it from, coming out of my mouth the way that I would rather it not come out of my mouth. I've made mistakes before. I can't tell you how many, because it's a lot. We all have. And if I could pick up those signals, then it supports me to know when as we come to the next slide, when my fear center has been activated. So my fear center is right here where this thumb is, and the prefrontal cortex tucks it right, that's the front of my brain, It tucks it right over the fear center. The fear center is really old. It's so old. It keeps us safe, or it tries to figure out if we're safe or unsafe. It sets off our survival responses of fight, freeze, faint, flock, or submit. We have no conscious control over this activation. It needs felt safety, attachment, and regulation. It communicates through sensations and pictures. The cortex is our thinking, planning, creativity, and problem solving part of the brain. It's able to communicate through language. It assists with empathy and compassion. And it's not even fully formed. Now they're saying until our mid 30s. Wild, crazy, wild. It communicates through pictures and words. Sorry, I'm just trying to move you guys around and my little power strip so I can get this. So when something occurs in our life that we experience a big emotion or a stressful situation, we can flip our lid. I'm sure you've seen children or young people or other adults that you work with, live with, including yourself, have flipped our lids where we just have no idea what's happening. Things come out of our mouth. Basically our thinking brain has gone offline. Our fear center takes over, and it's helping us to survive. We don't have conscious knowledge or control over this activation. It occurs. And when we flipped our lids, that sensory overload, we have been completely overloaded. We may experience emotional roller coaster or feel out of control. We might say or do things that we don't understand or would never do if our cortex was online. And it repeatedly activates us. Meaning, if anything similar to what first activated it when we were young happens, it will activate again. It's all to keep us safe. So in order for our thinking brains to be online, and they won't always stay online, is we need felt safety, comfortable, relaxed, mutually enhancing connection. So that helps us regulate. When we're in relationships with people, that feels safe. When I feel like you won't judge me or maybe blame or shame me, then I can regulate. And if I sense your nervous system regulating, then I can regulate, and vice versa. A safe connection. So a relationship where we build trust. And then we can reason. But if it's flipped, we are not in a reasoning place. So I'm going to pause there before I go to the next slide and just get a little feedback from folks as to if this is the first time for you and maybe what's up for you around this.
Janine, would you like for them to come off mute to have a conversation?
That would be fine. I'm going to get a cough drop.
Anyone want to share? You can come off mute, and if this is your first time in an EPLO session or just the first time with Janine. Leroy, you can come off and talk about the hand massage. Feel free to come off and just have a little bit of conversation around what we just learned.
Well, the reason why I said that, I said it jokingly, but at the same time, it just makes sense, because sometimes when people go off, or even with your own emotions, sometimes you just don't know how to de-escalate yourself, and let alone someone else, who are, maybe experiencing trauma or something of that nature. But it just made me think, like, when people get mad, sometimes they squeeze their hands together, they rub them, they always doing something with their hands or their feet. And I know I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but it probably does. Like, I went to a reflexologist some years ago, and it was the most amazing thing ever how your body is connected to everything else. It's just amazing. So, one of the things I learned years ago, I think it was PBIS or classroom management. Sometimes when um, a kid is going through something, you just put your hand on them or like grab their arm. So I just learned a little bit about the little hand and the wrist just now. Like it just makes sense to me. That's all.
That was great. It is amazing. We think that our head is separate from our body. Sometimes we think that our feet is all, it's not connected to the head. Everything is connected some way or the other. And you were absolutely right. When there is tension in our body, it is not just in one place, and that buildup is there. And so, thank you so much for what you shared, because I had someone else, Gail said, first time hearing about the hand brain. You know, sometimes we think that we just know what's going on, why we're angry, and oh, it's just affecting me in this space, and it's not. And Janine, you can jump in and stop me because I'll keep going. But yeah, thank you for that, Libra.
Yes, thank you so much. I so appreciate what you shared. It's so true. And that's my whole life's work, is to help us all and practiced with you the connection between the body and the brain. And how do we do our best to be the best we can be for each other? And yes, it is contagious. If someone is flipping their lid, it can very well flip your lid. So we impact each other. All right, let's talk a little bit about anger. Just the Anger Iceberg is and you can find more about the hand brain. You can find tons of videos online, short videos that explain it, just like I did, only probably like in much more detail. And so that's really fun. Go on there and find some more out about how it talks about how the hand brain is just a representation of how our brain and body operate together and what triggers us into dysregulation. So the Anger Iceberg, we're just talking about anger, a little bit about anger today and how it shows up. It's just really a part of a language of our fear center. So remember when we had the hand up, it was this fear center here in the middle, the limbic system in the hand brain. This is super old. It is there to protect us. This is trying to keep us safe. So it's trying to make sense of all our experiences, and it has sensations and sends those sensations up into the brain, which then says, oh my gosh, we're not safe. We gotta do something. And it can be stimulated or triggered by many different things for each person. So our limbic system gives us anger because anger gives us energy in the form of epinephrine and other stress chemicals. It gives us that activation because in the old days, we needed to act. We needed to keep ourselves safe. So when we begin to feel safe, if we begin to feel safe, our internal alarm system will relax and we can begin to feel the sadness or the fear or underneath the anger. So if we're not talking about a situation where we're in danger, someone is hurting us, or physically we're running from a tiger or a bear, or someone is activated and starting to come at us, we're talking about when our lid flips and it is something like someone has said something or done something, or maybe it's the conditions of our home life or conditions of our family, and we are hungry, or we are tired, or we've been some way shamed or embarrassed or worried or hurt. All of these things can lead us to flipping our lid. And it takes nervous system to nervous system and some of the skills we'll talk about today. So my colleague in Cincinnati, Mary Vicario, she developed the anger onion. What she calls the anger onion is the way, think of it as an onion and the layers of an onion. She calls the anger the outside layer. It's just what we see. And when our brains experience irritation, it automatically thinks of it as a threat. Anger is the obvious emotion, not a primary emotion. And underneath it is underneath the anger, aggression or risk taking is the sadness and fear. So something is really right underneath that anger, much like you saw on the iceberg, that's causing or leading to that outburst or activation of flipping our lid. And underneath is the sadness of think sadness, and then underneath that, then use it as a bridge to identify the fear or the worry or the shame. So she thinks of it as an onion, and you unpeel the layers slowly. And we can do this for each other, with each other, for ourselves, but in the presence of someone else. Likely it's best we're going to practice this today, not with someone that's really close in. Much more difficult to do that when it's your partner or your own children. Much more accessible to do that with someone who maybe possibly a colleague or someone that you serve in the school, a student or a young person. Just moving you guys around again. So how can the anger onion help us? It's hopefully something you take away today, and you'll get these slides, something that visual that you can take away when something happens. Maybe it will trigger you to thinking, I see this anger, I see this behavior. It's maybe a way for you to explore a pathway to reach that sadness and fear under the anger, either for yourself or for someone else. So empathizing with the sadness or the discomfort, getting curious can help us be a bridge, Empathizing can help be a bridge to help us connect with that fear or worry or shame, which is at the root of the anger. The anger onion hopefully can help us to understand and have empathy and greater connection so we can support people in meeting their needs underneath the anger. And when we begin to feel safe, other person or ourselves, our internal alarm system will relax, and then we can begin to feel the sadness and the fear underneath the anger. Basically, our prefrontal cortex will come online, and we could even share the words around that. But until our prefrontal cortex is able to come back online, we don't have access to language. And so in this activated state, we need enough empathy, enough understanding, enough care to calm that system so that we have access to words. All right. So Mary talks about using the kindness onion to get to the underlying anger. And the kindness onion, she sometimes calls it the love onion, but I like the kindness onion better because I want to be able to work with people that I might not necessarily associate love with. And maybe love is overused a bit. When we are understanding, we can see the sadness under the anger. So allowing understanding to come as the outside portion of when we are met with anger or when we see anger. When we reflect that sadness, we develop empathy. And that empathy is not solely on behalf of someone else, but it also increases the empathy in both people. And when we develop empathy, we can connect to the fear and focus interventions on the fear level. Because I don't know about you, but often we're not able to support people, whether that be a colleague or a student, with interventions that really are meeting the underlying fear or needs of that person. All right. So again, just to review this before we break into just a group, we're going to do a quick write as a big group. We won't do a breakout today. Understanding a little bit more about that kindness onion. If we can let go of just judgments and work to understand how might this behavior make this person feel safe, like they're They're doing something in order to stay safe. So really thinking about that hand brain and thinking about that kindness onion. Understanding allows us to feel empathy for that person and their struggle. And the understanding, so that outside shell where we're meeting the anger. When we reflect, we slow down and we can see without judgment, possibly, the person may feel safe enough to share their sadness. Great, see a typo? Excellent. I'm gonna meet that shame with a little bit of compassion. And empathy. So the middle circle is meeting the empathy. When we reflect the sadness, we both experience empathy. And empathy allows the person to start to feel safe enough to share their fear. So what's underneath of that sadness? And shared fear allows us to connect in a place where people feel safe, more safe than maybe, not entirely safe. We can't create a completely safe environment, but we can improve that safety. And then connection. When we can connect to the fear, we can begin to problem solve how to address what is driving that anger. So I'd love to just get a little feedback from you all of the anger onion and the kindness onion. What's coming up for you? What's bubbling up? How might this, do you have some curiosity? Any questions? We're going to do a little activity as a larger group, a quick write. I'll pause here for either in the chat or unmute.
I had a, I'm sorry.
Charlene actually came off first.
Bring to the fore. I wouldn't necessarily touch anyone unless I had that authority to do that or their permission. I would look for consent for that. And if that person can't give me consent, then I wouldn't touch them. And I don't really think any of what I'm sharing you would involve that you need to touch them. Me being present and having my body language is sending signals. My body language has a safe face, a safe posture, and a grounded, safe energy when I'm being approached with someone who's angry. Now, granted, I'm not going to tell you this is easy with my own children or my partner, that all bets are off. All right, let's just not talk about that right now. It's more challenging because we have an intermixed of stimulation that just goes back a long time. I've been married a very long time. So that's more challenging. I need to work on that more, right? That's like a master level skill that I'm working with. And it's getting better. Well, I'm working on it. If I'm working with a colleague that I want to bring this to, the most important thing I can do is to have a safe body, a safe face, and also to say, understand this isn't personal. Likely whatever they're angry about is unlikely to be personal. They are flipped their lid, just recognizing they flipped their lid. So whatever is coming out of their mouth, whatever they're doing, saying, or thinking is likely not really what they want to be doing. Can I bring my ability of understanding, slow the conversation down, reflect what I hear them saying, give them time to possibly see the sadness or the fear, reflect with empathy. So I'm not getting into their conflict. I'm not getting myself in there, and I'm not taking the ownership of it. I'm saying, wow, I see that you're really angry. I'm reflecting what I can see, what I can observe, what I hear them say. And then that's going to bring the essence of empathy as they share more. And then that connection can come. I hope that answered a little bit. So definitely I would not touch most people. This to your, I think your reactions, like a thumb or something to show me whether or not you've seen Brene Brown on empathy. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm not sure I want to show this, but can any of you tell me if you've already seen this? It's pretty short. Has anybody seen it before? You have. Rika has.
I have some no's, so I think it's
Okay.
I'll
All
go
right.
ahead.
Let's run it, and then we'll do a short exercise, and then we'll close out.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, I'm down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. At least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
All right. So drop in the chat if that like brought up anything for you, or maybe if it was new, and anything. You can find that online. It's super easy. Show it to everybody you know. It's not that new. She hasn't put those out anymore, but it's so powerful. I love it. I love the distinction. All right, so we're gonna do a quick write. We're gonna take 2 to 3 minutes. I'd like you to get a piece of paper if you can. You could do this on your phone. No worries. So I'd like you to think of the anger onion, and I want to have you reflect on an experience of someone you know that was angry in your presence. So, meaning not someone really close in, that's hard, that's more challenging, a colleague, a student, someone you see that you know that was angry recently. And think of them. Using the anger onion and the kindness onion as a guide, bring curiosity to what might be going on for this person. And so bringing curiosity to that anger. And then the next step, and I'll leave this up and then we'll put a timer on for about 3 to 4 minutes. Identify emotions or feelings they might have been feeling and reflect on what may have been going on for them. So that's the essence of empathy. And then connect to their fear, worry, or shame in order to provide the best support. So if you kind of get curious about their fear, what that might have been underneath, what is that thing? It could be all kinds of things. It could be, well, I won't even tell you all the ways. There's lots and lots of things that are underneath the sadness, the fear, the shame. So just take a moment. I'm going to put a timer on. And if possible, because I'd love to hear back from you, I'm going to put 3 minutes on, and I want to finish up on time. But I'd love to see if you could just do this exercise where you take the anger onion, and if I had you together, I would be giving you a sheet of paper that looks like this, that has the anger, like a blank space for writing what the anger might be. So I might write in here, and then what the sadness might be, and then guessing of what the fear would be. So it would look like that. So if you draw that, or just jot some things down on your phone, I'll leave you alone.
Okay, so
Yes.
I'm trying to keep up. That was a lot. So I see what we're doing over here on the left. What was that you just, I'm sorry, this is Maria. You just held something up.
Oh, yes, Maria. Sorry. I was just giving you an example of how it would be a blank piece of paper. You might do this onion, you might draw the onion, and then just make some notes about the person.
So we identified the person in the situation.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then bring to what? So this is from the other person's lens.
So you're just guessing. You're bringing your curiosity. So what might have been going on for them? So you're looking back at a situation, and then you're just guessing. It's like a practice. It's an in the moment way of practicing that, because we can't redo that, and you are going to have other situations. So how do you practice so that you're more ready to be with somebody who might be angry? I'll give you a couple more minutes. Just another minute, finishing up, just giving a chance to explore this anger that you experienced in a different way, maybe than how you had approached it before. Yeah, and coming back to the larger group, maybe you didn't finish, but maybe you got a little start, and maybe it's something you can take with you to finish up. So how might you respond from this understanding? Would it be different? Maybe one or two people, or you can drop in the chat. Is there anything you uncovered? Would this be a different way for you to respond or be present to colleagues or students if you could remember this process of unpeeling that anger onion with the kindness onion? What did you uncover? I love that, Rika. Powerful way to self-regulate. Instead of getting angry with them, take a step back to understand, feel what they might be feeling, and see and if how I can support. Yeah. We so often take it personal. I know I do. I'm so used to being blamed or shamed or criticized or judged. And I'm worried. So I need to regulate first and then be present. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone, all your input and everything that you added to the conversation. There's so much more we could talk about, and we have no more time. So I want to give it back to Rika so she can get the sign up sheet and everything you need, the evaluations. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up.
Thank you.